Virtusales do is provide and develop the Biblio Suite. The Biblio Suite, we're going to look at what exactly that is, but we are the developers of it and we also are the implementers of it. We provide hosting, consultancy and support. Obviously, for us, when a customer just goes live, that's just the start of the game, really. It's not, that's not when the game's over, it's really the start of the game. So the rest of it, the implementation, is the training. So the ongoing support and relationships we have with our customers is critical. So here are some of our clients who are using our software. Just yesterday, we had Disney go live with a 700 user system. I know they're not a scholarly publisher, but they are teaching things. We also have academic and scholarly focused publishers. And they range in size from 2 users up to 2,500 users in a single system, different countries, different languages, all sorts of different products as well. And so Biblio, for various projects that we're looking at now, it's a lot about managing digital product. So systems that they had built 20 years ago, 30 years ago, are no longer sustainable for the types of products that they're managing, whether they be digital packs. So, you know, for Oxford, for example, we're often, you know, building 1,000 products in a pack, which is then a course product which is made available online. And so there's all the complexities about managing the costs and things like that associated to those packs. So the products are no longer sort of single products that people buy or small packs of product. They are big, gigantic items that people are accessing. And so we've been developing Biblio for the past 22 years, and we are 30 developers, and all we do is develop this product, and we can't keep up with literally the development that needs to keep going into it. So what we do is focus on the publishing technology so that publishers can really focus on their content and what makes them different. And we're just going to look at some more specific scholarly and education publishers that are using the software. And we're also going to look at how they're using the software. So I'm going to tell you what Biblio can do from A to Z, but then we're going to look at how some publishers have implemented it, because not everyone can implement the entire software suite. That is potentially the holy grail, but not everyone can do that based on resources, cost constraints, etc. So we're going to delve into some of these and see what they're actually doing in. But before we do that, let's have a look at what the Biblio Suite is. So Biblio Suite is a series of workflows that enables you to manage things from the concept, so ideation. So we've got someone at the moment, their main pain point is all their editors are putting potential projects into Excel spreadsheets and managing them offline, and so there's no central repository of potential projects coming up. So Biblio isn't just about something that you've acquired and you're going forward with. It's about building up the ideation of that. What are we trying to target? What's the market we're going for? Building up that to bring to acquisition meetings, to then do a P&L. So a lot of that is also things like P&L costing for a pack. Where can this content be used? How can we maximize our income from it? Right sales, permission sales, things like that. But a lot of these things are also at that ideation stage where, again, a lot of times it's offline. And so if you look at a university press or a scholarly publishing, they often have to go to a board meeting to bring their proposals in. They're often keying that data into their documents and things like that. So they put it in one system, then they put it into a paper doc, then they get that signed off, and then put it back and put it into another system once it's acquired. So a lot of that now starts in Biblio. They output that data for various purposes that they need, and they don't have to rekey it. They then cost out that project to then get sign-off for various levels so they can share it around. What's our forecast for sales for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What's our break-even point? What's our expected returns? We then, once it's signed off and it's going into production, we're then managing the content. So we're then bringing in content at the chapter level, at the article level, storing all the DOI, storing all of the content providers. Now, this has a knock-on effect down the line, because people, it's not just about, and we'll see this in one of the case studies, it's not just about having that content there, it's actually understanding what you can do with that content down the line once it's published and everyone goes, do you know what, this is amazing, we love this, we want to reuse it. And then you've got to work out actually what can they reuse of that content that you spent all this time publishing at the start. So managing the content, managing the assets associated to the content, images, DOIs, all that type of thing. We then have integrated contact management. So that is internal, external contacts, peer reviews, being able to track this person has what relationships with you. They are an author of an article, they're an author of a book, they're also a peer reviewer, they're also a reviewer of another thing, they're also part of another marketing program that you have. So having that centralized to be able to see what your relationship is with lots of different people and how that varies. As you go through, you then need to build up a contract. So we've gone through, this looks like a great project, we found the people we want to work with, and now we need to generate a contract. So those contracts can be simple contracts, such as a contributor contract. It could be with certain permissions that you can use the content or what that person does with it. It could be a full contract with an author where you've got to pay royalties that you then need to follow up on. So this is for any type of contract that you have, being able to track advances, payments, who do I need to pay, how much do I need to pay them, when do I need to pay them, is it, what currency is it in? And so then from producing that contract, we then will output that into a Word document. We then can drop it into our digital asset workflow tool, where they can then route that to the client for signature, and then that's within the system. So when people double back later on to say, what can I do with this project, they can actually go and see. So we also do with that, we call it third-party rights management. So many of you may have heard of an inventory log. So someone submits their product with you and they give you an Excel spreadsheet and go, here's all the pieces in this article or in this book, and this is what you can and can't do with it. And someone goes, thanks very much. They get that file and they then put it on the drive, and that's where it sits. We store all that data against the product. Now, when you then, later on, we'll go around that side of the circle, someone comes to buy sub-rights or they sell permissions, what do you need to check? What can you legally reuse in that? And so you need to double back to your contract to have, there's an image on page 22 that we cannot actually license out. So we need to redact that if we're going to process a sale on it. And this is really important for those micro transactions. Otherwise, it's just not profitable to be able to even answer a query on can someone use your content for a permission sale. So we've got the contract. We then go through to production. We're then tracking our costs against our estimates. So we did our initial estimate, and we're going, this is going to sell, it's only going to cost us $10,000, but actually you get through and it's suddenly cost you $150,000 because paper's changed and the cost has gone up. So we have all the supplier scales in the system, and when you go and change specs of the book, it will automatically recalculate it and it will track it against your initial estimate so you can see how things have changed. We then, through there, also got scheduling. So what tasks have been complete, what still needs to be complete. I was just chatting with Mark, colleague, yesterday, and we're talking about efficiency, and some of the things where a lot of people lose efficiency is they keep getting interrupted from their work. And so they're in the flow, they're getting their work done, but people want to know the status of something in a project. Because information is not readily available and shared throughout many companies, people have to interrupt someone else, stop them doing their work to then go, hey, can you tell me the status of this? It doesn't matter what it's for, but can you tell me the status? So a lot of things in Biblio, where efficiencies come from, is not just updating metadata, it is actually providing information to people when they need it so they don't need to update and interrupt other people from their daily jobs just to get an update. So all the production, the specs, purchase orders are all managed in there. Sharing files, so we have a digital asset workflow, not just for the contract, but you can send files out. So we have one customer who is putting all of their journal files, their articles, they'll put them all together in a basket and share them out to the printer or to the ebook converter or to a contributor. So once a book is produced, we're then doing our marketing. So this is going to be in terms of promotions that you're doing on this. It could be events, awards that you want to track. You want to see, where has this article been used? How many times has it been sold? You want to do some marketing around it. Perhaps do some pricing changes on it. You want to store all of your Onyx copy. Perhaps you want to have, and this is actually a really big win, is something simple as synchronizing data for an author. So let's say you've got an author and they are a contributor in 50 different products, 100 different products. You can update their information once and it will flow through, and their biography will flow through to all of their associated products if you want. Or you could have one has a specialized biography, but all the other ones are synchronized. And so whenever someone updates once, they update it once and it flows through. Authors love it because their information is consistent. We also can distribute all of their author images, only if they're very good looking. You can share that out and you can put it on the websites with their bios. We then distribute this information. So this is sending that information to warehouses, to finance systems, to retailers. So this is using Onyx, using any basically standard that you can send it out. Basically, Biblio's a big hub, and you can get the data out. You just say, I want it in Excel, I want it in XML, I want it in whatever format that you need, and then you can output that data. Also for doing ebook distribution and things like that. The next thing is the subrights sold, but also permissions sold. So this is things like Copyright Clearance Center. You've got your people doing a sale for perhaps translation. That subright can be tracked and sold in Biblio. It's then managed against the contract, so you can see what you've sold, what rights you've got, how much you need to pay and share with the author or the contributors. It manages all of that. It then does auto chasing of income and invoicing that you need for those subright sales. But also on the permission sales, we'll see with Duke, later on we look at a case study, is how they are then tracking all the sales against individual articles. So this article sold $5,000 worth of permission sales, for example, and so they can see who they've sold it to, which then helps them in the marketing when they get new articles and they want to promote those. So then we're going through, and you've then got sales coming in for all this content. We've got journals, we've got books, we've got articles, we've got conferences, we've got any type of thing that you're doing, packs. Now we've got sales coming in. Biblio then does a heavy lifting. It aggregates that data and then will process all of that sales data against the contract, which will then produce how much you need to pay each author or contributor based on that, and it can do it on a daily basis. So that's one of the other big wins for this, is being able to do it in real time. And then as a follow-up to this, we also have data coming back in. We got it for royalties, but you can also do now modeling for your forecasting. When do you need to do a reprint? So again, this module, this area we've had for a long time in inventory management, but it's come back into fashion in the last 2 years. It's literally everyone scrambling for this particular piece of software because most of our publishers have outsourced their distribution. And so you think inventory is sorted, but what they're struggling with is managing the actual production process and when they should be reordering, how much they should be reordering, should it be going to POD, or how much stock have they got in warehouses, things like that. So we can bring all that data in and help them predict what they should be printing for future runs, and they can use that data for tracking new acquisitions they might be doing. So this is Biblio, and I'm just doing a quick time check. Yep, we are going good. All right, so now we're going to look at a couple of case studies. So what we saw here is a lot. That is the holy grail. If you can get everything into this, that is the perfect scenario because everything flows through from start to finish. People don't have to go to different systems to find information. It is there wherever they want it. They just on a product and they can get whatever they need. Who's working on it? How much royalties is it paid? What contracts are there associated? How much does it cost to produce? It's all there. But not everyone is in a position to be able to do a big bang, hey, start to finish. They've got years of systems that have been added in, and they're unable to replace them all at one go. So we're going to look at a few examples. So Penn State University, they do books and journals, but they had this problem with journals specifically, and they wanted a system. They, one of my favourites, because they had 4 people. They then had someone go on maternity leave. They went to 3 people. They had 8 journals. Now they've got 11 journals, sorry. Now they've got 88 journals, and they have still 4 people. And so what they said is Biblio is supporting their ability to scale by automating various tasks throughout the production process. So they can keep acquiring more journals without needing lots more people to manage those. Obviously, they've got the editorial and that side of things being done, perhaps through Aries or other systems, but they're actually managing their part of it, utilising Biblio and being able to store all of that data. But it was just for journals. We're currently looking at them. They want to. Their current problem is managing sales coming back in. So we have some sales analytics, and they're looking at, we'd love to be able to see all our sales from different areas coming back in and aggregated, so we can do sales by subscription type, income by journal, all that type of thing. So they're really looking at it currently from product data plus production and cost management and scheduling. But they are looking at other options as we go. Oxford, something that Mark has worked on. So with them, they had their biggest pain point was their modelling, so their P&Ls. And so they wanted to be able to quickly cost up very large new projects and say, well, based on these specifications, how much will it cost us? So we're supplying we're ingesting all of the supplier scales. They can put in the specs, they can group these products together to make one big pack, and Biblio will tell them what the profitability of that big pack will be. And when I say big, it could be 1,000 products in that pack. So it is a very time-consuming for many publishers to look at this. But the whole point of this is really maximising their income from the IP that they own. So lots of complex product structures and formats. So when you go in, you buy one of their access to their models or products. You know, a lot of that is being built in Biblio. But that was a very specific component. They're now looking at other areas that they can roll out to Biblio. So you don't need to buy everything or use everything. It's just where it makes sense. Fordham, they're using just our basic part of our software. Really, product management is the main thing. But what they used to do is have to produce these forms to go to the board, to go to a contract memo, to do a deal memo. And all of that was being done manually. They'd fill in these forms, they'd then update it. Now they just update it once in Biblio, and then they can print and pull out that data for these pre-formatted forms that they bring to their meetings. And they can then produce the documents for the contract. And so instead of rekeying data in and out and having no visibility, it's all there for them, and they can share that and have online approvals. So again, they're not huge, but every publisher, whether you're small or large, have to do the same things. It's just really the quantity. The complexity of it doesn't change. You really have to do absolutely everything the same. Kogan Page, they do use a very wide suite of our software. They've just gone live with our royalties module as well. And so they're now using everything. But something that they recently had was a problem where they're changing their supply methodology, and they're wanting to have more print on demand. And we've actually got quite a few clients who are focusing on a print on demand model only, where everything goes straight to POD. But their problem with that was them managing the suppliers, being able to make sure they had the right files, the updated files. And so they're using Biblio to store all those files. They update the file if anything needs to be changed, and then they'll share it out with all of their suppliers as and when they need it. And so they get an order in for 100 books or something like that. They'll pick the supplier they want, send them the files, and off they go. So it just enables them to manage their publishing process and improve their inventory strategy in terms of keeping their stock down. I will allow time for questions at the end. Harvard University Press is another one. They actually now have pretty much every part of the software we have, but they did it in phases. So they did a work package, which was their base title management and production. It was an in-house system, FileMaker. The guy who was managing it and built it, just couldn't keep up with the demand. As I said, he was one person. We have 30, and his job is to make his software as good as our software, except it's 30 to 1. So it's a challenge. And so, they moved on to Biblio. They then implemented the contracts rights and the digital asset management side of things. And then they implemented royalties and a royalty portal. And part of that is we also developed permission selling and third-party rights processing. So if Biblio doesn't have something, because we're the developers, we can actually build it in. So, we're looking at new projects for Disney is an example where we're building an external portal, and all of their licensees are going to come in and create new titles. But we see that being valuable for the scholarly side, where you can have your external people coming in, working on products, updating them through these portal sites. So it's exposing through a secure method a way that people can update data. So you don't have to can you please give me the update of this project, and I'm just going to key it into my internal system. They can update it and keep everything in line. Princeton University Press, how long does it take to do something like this? Here's an example, 12 months. It was, start to finish. They've got everything, big bang. Don't advise that for everyone, because sometimes it can be, stressful. There's a lot of business units you need to come across. One of the big things for them was the CCC, Copyright Clearance Center uploader for microtransactions. So previously, you get a report, and you then need to, thanks, I've got, $50,000 from CCC as an example, but now I've got to divide it between, 1,000 products, and now I've got to split it up. How much does this author get? We've got an uploader. You just ingest that file. Biblio will then split out all of the payments to the appropriate people and give, if there's authors that get 50%, they'll split it out and give them their share. So it means that you can process these microtransactions in a much more efficient way than if you've got to manually go through the contract and work out what that is. And there are about 150 users. So Melbourne just wanted royalties. So I think, what I wanted to show out of today is the opportunity for where you can be, but also if you've got specific problems, you can tailor and use software to help you with a particular specific problem. So they needed royalties. We turned on the royalties for them, and then they're being able to automate their delivery of statements. And we also introduced a royalty portal where they can just log in and it'll email the author, congratulations, you've got a new statement. Please click here, log in, and you can access your statements online without having to post them out. Duke University Press. This is a very niche implementation. So they had other systems that they'd spent quite a bit of money on, and they didn't want to replace everything. So they hadn't got their return on investment on those other systems. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. But they did have a big need for helping them manage their rights, permission selling, and being able to track what they could and couldn't do with their content. So we ingest a feed of all of their products in journals and articles, plus we ingest and we provide a place for them to record all of their third-party rights, what they can and can't do with that. Then they then go through, they're selling the rights, they're selling permissions, they're uploading the CCC files, and Biblio is then, they can quickly check, can I sell this article in its entirety, or do I need to remove some parts of it? So that's where the access to that third-party rights, when you're trying to process the sale of a permission, is really important. Otherwise, if you have to go down to the basement, or you have to go to another server to try and find or open up an Excel file to say, what actually can I do with this content? Being able to do it and have it immediately available is very, very powerful. Okay, Bloomsbury, they have been using it. They're growing. I think they started and they were 400 users. They're now 800 users. They started with just a couple of modules and they keep turning on more. They're currently looking at a royalties side of things. And so they're looking at multiple geographies. They've got academic and trade in a single system. So like I said, Biblio doesn't care what type of product it is. It could be an audio, it could be a conference. You can sell conferences. You can sell anything that you need to have payments on. We have one case study actually where there's a client, they sell a conference and they sell a book with it, and they then, with the contract with the conference is one of the contributors, if they speak, they get a higher royalty rate than the person who doesn't speak, but they're co-authors on the product. So when they're doing the sales, Biblio's got to track all of that and who's getting what, but the conference is essentially a product. It's just a virtual product. But we need to track that from all the different angles. So I know that was fast, and I'm 4 minutes early, so I'm very happy about that. Is there any questions that anyone has about what Virtusales does, what Biblio does? Going once, twice, thrice. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, and if you have any questions and you are too shy to talk now, you'd like to send me an email, please feel free. Or if you see me later with Mark, don't be shy. We don't bite much, and love to have a chat. Thank you.